This episode of Brains on Games is about building the best koi garden. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and not too long ago, Floyd Liu, the designer of Koi Garden, sent me a preview copy of his game. This is a game that's going to be coming up on Kickstarter on April 9th of this year, a game called Koi Garden. Koi Garden is a game that you can play with between 2 and 4 players. It plays with kids aged 8 and up, and you can play a game in only about 15 minutes. Let's take a look at Koi Garden. Players start a game of Koi Garden with a couple of cards. A scorecard, which is actually made up of 2 different cards that you just slide around. So you've got a 0 at the top, and now I've got 1 point. Or, as you flip it, now I've got 11 or 12 points. So they've got this clever little way of keeping score. You also start with a wildlife card that's just dealt out from a total of 10 different kinds of wildlife that come in the game. And you have a starting tile. All 4 of these are sort of wild land tiles, so they match up with any land tile that you might connect to it. And here's the marketplace. At the beginning of the game, there are going to be 4 different land tiles and 4 different wildlife cards that are going to be associated with each one of those. On your turn, you will take one of these tiles. And you just grab that tile from the marketplace and you add it to your starting tile. One of these little corners is going to overlap and you can rotate it however you like. I'll set mine up like this because of the wildlife card that I started the game with. This little goldfish here, this little koi, is going to be able to move left to right or up and down as many spaces as it wants within the same type of land. So you see that they're all different colors here of these land tiles. And it's going to score points for each of these golden ones that it swims through. Now, once I've placed my land, then I can add my creature here. You can see the little goldfish, and he's going to swim over here and earn me some points. Once I've chosen my land and moved my creature, the next thing that I do is I swap out the wildlife card for the one that corresponded to the land tile that I chose. So in this case, I'm going to grab this gray fish. Now, the gray fish only wants to earn points by swimming through these green and purplish tiles like you see over here. Then I replenish the empty spot, and that's the end of my turn. The next person will go. There's one other thing that I have an option to do, and that is to use the special tool that's drawn at the beginning of the game. This little brown card, in this case it's an ancient coin, and what that will allow me to do is if I don't like any of the cards that are here in the market, the land cards, I can discard them all and swap them for 4 new ones. But there is a penalty for doing that. If I use that ability, and I can only use it once per turn, but if I use the ability, then I have to place one of these little stone lanterns in my garden, and that's going to block me from being able to stack another land piece on top of that space. So it starts to limit your options if you begin to pile up on these little lanterns in your garden. You'll continue playing until you've placed 6 of these tiles, and then that's the final round where you finish up your scoring. You can see that as you go, you're spreading out these, or you're trying to spread out these longer and longer pathways that the creatures can travel through or jump through in the case of the frog. You can't place tiles on top of wildlife that's already there or on top of these lanterns, like I said earlier. And there is then some planning that's involved in doing this and some spatial organization. You've got to plan ahead to choose the right tiles and the right wildlife card so that you can move the right creature to get the most points. But it's so much visual spatial. This is a huge visual spatial game. You're imagining spatially how you're going to create the longest path, and you can rotate those lands on each time you play one. You're rotating it through to figure out what's the best placement that's going to optimize your points. And that might change every round because each of the creatures scores differently and might move differently. The frog jumps and earns 2 points for every jump that it's able to do in a turn, but it has to land on the same kind of tile that it started on, which makes that an interesting one. There's a butterfly in the deck, and the butterfly scores points based on how many creatures are around it, adjacent to it. So there's lots of spatial thinking and spatial problem solving that you're doing here. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about Koi Garden today. And that is Koi Garden in a nutshell. A quick to play, easy to learn game that's all about visual spatial planning and problem solving so that you can move your creatures through the garden and earn the most victory points. Thanks again to Floyd Liu for sending this game. It's going to show up on Kickstarter on April the 9th. And if you have any comments or questions or suggestions for me, you can leave them in the comments section below, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and previous episodes are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so you'll find me all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.